Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're watching this video from. My name is Achieng and welcome back to my YouTube channel. I am so excited about today's video. So one thing about me, I love desserts, especially on the weekends. During the week, I would behave myself, but on the weekends, I try to live a little. So there's one dessert that I love making, and it's apple crumble pie. That is how I call it. I love it. It's one of my favorite desserts to have on the weekend. You can have it with ice cream. You can have it by itself. You can go wild with it. But today I'm going to show you one of my quick recipes that I use. Sometimes I'll make the pie dough from scratch, and when I do not have time, I usually would buy the pie dough from a grocery store that's homemade, and then I will use that. So today I'm going to make one that I bought from Whole Foods. They already prepared the pie crust, so all I have to do is just add my ingredients and bake it. So guys, I'll be showing you that, and I hope you enjoy this video. Please do not forget to subscribe, and let's hit 1,000 subscribers by the end of this year. See you soon. So for this recipe, I'm going to walk you guys through a couple of ingredients that I use for my pie. I usually specialize it or customize it to my own taste. So for the apples, which is the main ingredient, I use a different variety of apples. As you can see, I have Gaylor, I have apple honey, I think, and then I have Grandma Smith, and then I have some other ones. I can't remember the name correctly, but my point is I use different types of apples because it adds different texture and different flavor to my overall pie. So that's why I love just mixing it up, and that's how I customize it myself. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to remove the skin, and then I will proceed to the next step. So I have already removed the skin. So what I'm going to do, what I do after that is I would go ahead and cut it into half. And then this part right here, I like removing all of this part because I do not like the taste of it when it's cooked in my pie. So it's everyone's preference, but I just always take out all of that. Just moving this seed section. There you go. And then now for cutting our apples, you can cut them any shape, honestly. Depending on what I want, I would cut them in this shape, or sometimes you can cut them like in boxes. It honestly depends how you like it. I do not think there's any particular way for you to cut them. So I'm just going to cut them into pieces. Just make sure they're not too big and they're not too small. They're at least medium size. And for this recipe, I used 4 apples. Some use 5, depending on the size of your apples. But for this one, I used just 4. Then we add the last one. And voila. We're all set. So now, as you can see, we have our apples. So what I'm doing right now is just blending them. And what I'm going to do now is start adding flavor to our apples. So I have my ingredients right here in this tray, and what I will begin with, I'll begin with lemon zest. So I'm just going to add the lemon zest, and it's about a teaspoon of lemon zest, I would say. Make sure it's all down there, and then I am going to get some lemon juice from this. The lemon juice really adds amazing flavor. I'm going to squeeze here. And your lemon juice is what's going to be the juice or the liquid in your apple pie. And the apples, they do release some juice. So for this recipe, I'm just using 1 lemon. And I am going to add our lemon juice to this. Going to set these aside. So I'm going to give it a good stir to make sure the apples is coated with the lemon. After that, I am going to proceed with our spices. I'm going to add a teaspoon of cloves, actually for the cloves, I'm just going to add half a teaspoon. And then I am going to add cinnamon, ground cinnamon. And for that, I'll add 1 teaspoon of cinnamon. And next, I am going to add half a teaspoon of ground nutmeg. And this is just to add flavor. And then I'm going to give it a little stir, making sure that it's coated. As you can see, the lemon juice is helping the spices to coat well to the apples. And then I'm going to proceed with adding some sugar. With this one, I'm going to do a 1/4 cup, not too sweet, just a little bit to kind of tone down the lemon juice that we have used. And I'm going to taste, and that tastes good for me. And this is an important step. I'm going to add cornstarch. What cornstarch does, it helps the juices that are released when the apple pie is cooking. It helps to thicken it. You do not want a watery apple juice coming out of your apple pie. So I usually add cornstarch, and also the that helps to control the viscosity of the juice that's released, and then also for the spices to stick onto the apples. So what we are going to do now that we have all that set, I am going to let this sit for just 5 minutes to give the cornstarch some time to kind of make the liquid. You can see, to just kind of help the liquid to thicken just a little bit, and then we'll proceed to the next step. So as our apple ingredient is resting, now we are going to proceed to the crumble pie. Now this crumble, we are going usually make the crumble part of it from scratch, and this is about 1 cup and 2 cups and a half of flour, and I have it already here. And then the next important thing that I've already done is you have to take your butter, some butter, and you have to warm the butter, but the butter has to turn this brown because we want that brown color to the apple crumble. So my butter is ready. I used 1 stick and a tablespoon of butter, so I have that ready. I have my flour, and then one thing that we are going to add to this is brown sugar. The brown sugar just adds a little bit of taste, like a smoky taste to it. And I'm not using a lot of brown sugar. I'm just using a little bit. So that's 1 tablespoon, 2 tablespoons. Just that. Because I'm going to eat this with ice cream, I do not like making my apple pie too sweet. And then after that, I'm going to add cinnamon, just a little bit of cinnamon, since we already have cinnamon on the apple. So this is just a teaspoon of cinnamon. And then from here, I am going to mix. As you can see, the brown sugar is already changing the color of the flour. And then after that is mixed, I am going to add my butter. So I'm just going to form a hole in the middle, this flour. Then I'm just going to pour this butter solution inside. And what I'm doing right now, I'm just making the crumble, and I'm just going to mix it. It's going to form some shape, but just take your time to mix it to make sure that all of the butter is distributed. You can see it has already turned brown, and that is exactly what we wanted. So I'm just taking my time to make sure all of the batter soaks through all of the flour particles. And voila, we have our crumble mix ready. So I'm going to set that aside, clean up a little bit, and now comes our assemble. So this is the bowl that I'm going to use. This is our pie bowl that I'll be using to bake our pie. And as I mentioned, I usually use, this is like homemade pie crust that is already made. It really comes in handy, and it comes in this parchment plastic paper. So what I do, I just kind of stretch it a little bit. And sometimes it cracks, which is okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay on our pie dough. Then I'm going to make sure it covers all of the base. So do not get discouraged if it kind of breaks. It's part of the process. All you have to do is just mend the breaks. And definitely you can make the pie from scratch, which I do, and I will create another video showing you how I make my pie crust. But today, because of time, we are going to do the smart way, I guess. So as you can see, I am forming this part right here. With the parts that broke. You have to make sure you form the wall and press on it. You can see I'm just filling in the gaps here and there to maximize the pie crust. Okay. And our pie crust is ready. Now we're going to proceed with the apples that have been sitting for about 5 minutes. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add our pie mixture side and just making sure it's evenly distributed. Making sure the juice I'm going to spread it. Kind of press it down so that it has a flat surface. There you go. So now I'm going to proceed to the next step, and the next step is adding our apple, our crumble crust, I guess. So what I'm going to do, I already have it ready. I'm going to use my hand because I want to make sure that I cover all of the section. You have to make sure all of your pie is covered. So I'm just going to go with my hands, fill these holes on the sides. You have to take your time in this part because you want to make sure all of your apples are covered. All you see is the apple crust, the crust that we have made. I guess I should call it butter crust since we made it with crust, butter and flour, but at the end of the day, we end up with crust, crumble crust. There are many ways of making apple pie. There's one that it's closed apple pie where you use the same apple crusts and you cover. I always do that too, but I change up my recipe. This time around, I'm just craving for the apple crumble pie version that I make. So as you can see, I am taking my sweet time to make sure I fill it all the way. I'm going to wash my hands. Going to clean these edges. And there you have it. So we are going to bake this for about up to an hour under temperature of 375, and then we will see what we get. Our pie is ready. I did take it out of the oven, and you just have to let it sit for a little bit so it can just cool down a little bit. But this is how our pie looks like. As you can see, the crumble that we made has browned, and because we did not put too much liquid, you can see it just bubbled on these edges, but it did not pour in out of the bowl. And that is why also we used starch, cornstarch. It really helps the liquid that is produced while the pie is cooking to thicken. So what I'm going to do now, just going to cut a slice. Going to use this spoon here we go. And if it does not hold the shape, that is fine. This is a quick and easy recipe that you can try at home, but it is really fun to eat, especially with the crumble. So I'm just going to make sure I get all of the pieces. And here you go, guys. You can eat this with ice cream and any other type of sauce, or you can eat it with whipping cream if you would like. But I just sometimes I eat it like this, or I'll eat it with ice cream. So bon appetit, and thank you guys so much for watching our video. Please do not forget to subscribe, and see you next time.